All right, bro, we've all had someone do us completely dirty, and it feels like they never seem to get what they deserve. Or if they do and we end up hearing about it, it's long after we've healed too much to even care. Why is that? All right, so this is what I would like to call the paradox in wanting to see our enemies suffer, that we can actually reason through by understanding cosmology and consciousness through the lens of some Eastern philosophy and maybe some psychology. But before we get into that, we need to understand two things. Number one, we need to understand that in Sanatana Dharma and Hindu cosmology, you have the Holy Trinity, which actually are the three aspects of our universe: creation, preservation, and destruction. And in Hermeticism, there's also the concept of mentalism, which is like we are in God's mind. So this Holy Trinity also exists for our Holy Trinity, which would be our mind, body, soul, or consciousness, the thing that connects us to the cosmos, that three-tiered experience. But today I'm just going to focus on the mind. So the mind also has aspects of creation, preservation, and destruction, which helps co-create our reality, which means we can create, preserve, and destroy our thoughts. And since our thoughts create reality, well, I'll get to that in a second. But now we need to understand point two, which is Pratītyasamutpāda, which is a Buddhist philosophy. I believe it is Sanskrit for dependent origination, which basically says that everything is connected, nothing arises independently of anything else, meaning everything that exists in the cosmos is in relation to something else. So if we take that super duper far in saying that everything is connected, we can almost deduce that the separation between subject and object, like me being the subject and the object being the iPhone I'm looking at, is an illusion. Everything in our space-time is kind of directly linked to the frequency of our consciousness. So with all that being said, what does that have to do with your enemies and them suffering and getting their just desserts? Well, for you to even be able to think of your enemies in the first instance of time, you had to create them. And when you keep thinking about your enemies, you're preserving them. So as long as we're aware of them and they're both created and still in preservation mode, even if they're suffering, they're technically part of the universe, your universe. And the greatest liberation is being freed from them in your universe, which means if you don't want them to exist, they must be destroyed mentally, y'all. Don't go out there trying to destroy nobody get in jail for me, okay? So, which is why when your consciousness upgrades, you have to think about how your thoughts create, preserve, and destroy differently, which gives rise to a different space-time, a different reality, one that your enemy doesn't belong in. And I can say from personal experience that the awareness of suffering, kind of a privilege. Think about the fact that you know that you are in suffering. It means that there's a concept of not suffering, meaning you can do better. So if you're aware of it, if you can think it in your head, you can have it in your hand. And if you really want someone to be in hell, they would be in stagnation. So they wouldn't even be aware that they're suffering. You would. So now you have to ask yourself, if you finally could see your enemies suffer, are you watching your enemies suffer? Or are your enemies existing and you're suffering in watching them? Because only you are aware. They aren't.